Hello again, it's me. Today I want to tell you a very special story, a true story, not one I merely heard about, but one that someone once shared with me in a quiet afternoon as we sat watching the sun slowly sink behind an old rusty rooftop. They told it all, every detail, the pain, the broken dreams, the times they fell and somehow still got back up, with a cracked voice and tear-filled eyes. I've never forgotten how that felt. And today, I want to step into their shoes and tell the story as if it were my own, so that you can feel it as closely as I did. I'm not telling this for sympathy. I'm telling it so you'll see that there are people who thought they'd never survive, but they did, and they lived better, wiser, and more grateful because of it. Oh, and just so you know, I'm just starting out on YouTube. I'm not great at editing videos or creating beautiful visuals. All I have is a story and a heart that wants to share it. So if this video feels a little rough, I hope you'll understand. I promise, I'll keep learning. I'll keep improving, so that every time you return to my channel, you'll see a little more growth than the time before. Somewhere in this story, you might see a piece of yourself, a version of you that once felt lost, hurt, abandoned. But I believe, if you listen all the way through, you'll realize something. No path is meaningless if we still carry a heart that knows how to heal, forgive, and keep moving forward. Now, imagine this, you're a 5-year-old boy. One morning you don't hear your mother's voice. There's only a pot of hot water, a towering pile of dishes, and 2 younger siblings crying from hunger. What would you do? As for me, I washed the dishes, swept the floor, fed my siblings, and from that day on, I started being an adult. This isn't a fairy tale. This is real. And if you're still here, thank you, for listening. All right, let's begin. Chapter 1, The Child of Early Mornings. The night blood soaked through my sleeve. I don't know exactly when I first got used to waking up early. Maybe it was the day I realized that my mother needed me, a tiny boy, to share the burden of a life far too heavy for her alone. I was 5 years old, the age when children are supposed to still lie in their beds, wrapped in their mother's arms, listening to fairy tales and giggling in their pajamas. But for me, mornings began with the rustling sound of my mother getting up at 2 or 3 a.m. She went to do day labor while the city was still asleep. Her shadow slipped quietly behind the old door, leaving me alone in the dark house with my twin. Younger siblings still sound asleep. That was when I became grown up. A small grown-up with no experience but full of responsibilities. I washed dishes with my tiny hands, learned to grip a broom twice my size. I cooked, not always perfectly, but enough to fill 3 small stomachs. I washed clothes, never quite clean enough, but my mother never scolded me. Maybe because she knew I was trying. Every morning was the same. I woke my 2 siblings, changed their clothes, fed them porridge, then led them to school. Like a little train, I was in front, with 2 behind me, tramping down dusty village roads. I wasn't tired. I only felt that I had to be strong because my mother had no one but me. My father. He was still there, but never really present. He worked slaughtering livestock, a harsh, bloody job. I wasn't afraid of blood, but I feared his hollow eyes every time he came home. He hardly ever asked, "And have you eaten?" or "Are you okay?" To him, I was just a part of a bleak picture, nothing more. Life drifted quietly like that, hard, dull, but with a few rays of light whenever my mother smiled. Her smile was beautiful, even though her skin was darkened by the sun, her eyes etched deep with sleepless wrinkles. Her smile was the only warmth in my gray childhood. By the time I was 13, our family situation improved. My mother started working for a family friend who ran a business. The income was steadier, and she no longer had to wake up so early. I could sleep a little longer. Our meals sometimes had meat and fish. My siblings grew older and less needy, easing the burden on me. I dreamed of peaceful days, until the storm came. My father started gambling. At first, just a few small rounds, then nights spent away, sudden angry outbursts, and debts piling up. I still remember that evening when my mother sat silently in the kitchen corner, her eyes dry, lips trembling as if wanting to speak, but couldn't. She didn't cry anymore, not because she wasn't sad, but because there were no tears left. Knew she had endured enough. That woman had run out of strength, trust, and hope. Everything she had once clung to, trying to hold our family together. Then one day, she decided to leave. I didn't cry when she left. Not because I was strong, but because I couldn't fully grasp the loss. She told me to stay home and take care of the two little ones, not to go anywhere or cause trouble. I asked where she was going and she just hugged me tightly, her sweat smelling sharp and raw, clinging to my hair like a wound that wouldn't heal. Mom is going to work far away. When she earns enough, she will come back to get you all. I stood at the door, watching her push the rickety bicycle wobbling into the darkness of the alley. That frail figure, even now I can't forget. After that day, only my father, the two kids, and I were left in the house. But really, it was just me and the two kids. My father was barely a father anymore. He grew colder, addicted to alcohol, and gambling all night. Sometimes he brought home strange people, men and women with harsh faces and the smell of cigarettes that clung to the air. I once thought, maybe I should run away. But I couldn't. The two little ones still needed me. I learned to hide money under the floor tiles, to pick vegetables from the fields, to beg for leftover rice from the corner eatery. Some days, with nothing else to eat, I bit into a half-moldy bread as if it were beef. I made up stories for the kids. Today, the neighbor gave me canned fish while my belly was hollow. I worked as a construction helper in the summer, carrying cement bags heavier than myself. My hands blistered. I never got to rest. Every evening, while kids my age played soccer in the schoolyard, I was busy washing clothes, cleaning the house, soothing the little ones to sleep. My childhood dreams, if I had any, must have died in those hungry nights and the yelling of a father who was no longer himself. And then one night, the night that changed my life's direction completely, I discovered a secret. Not sure if I should tell it now, but if you are patient, in the next chapter I will tell you about that fateful night, the first time I saw blood soaking through my sleeve and realized my life would no longer be that of a good child. All right, maybe that will make you uncomfortable, so I'll continue telling you. That night, there was no moon. My small house lay hidden among the crowded working-class alleys tangled with electric wires, the stench of sewers rising every time the humid weather settled in. The whole neighborhood was swallowed by darkness, with only the summer cicadas droning endlessly beyond the hibiscus fence. I was soothing my youngest sibling to sleep when I heard a knock at the door. Not a full knock, more like someone lightly scratching on the wooden plank. 1, 2, 3 times. I held my breath. Open the door. My father's voice, but it wasn't his usual tone. At that moment, I wondered why he came home so quietly. No cursing, no drunken stench, just cold. I tiptoed to open the door, heart pounding like a war drum. My father stood there, one hand gripping the edge of the door, the other clutching his stomach. The dim oil lamp light cast shadows over his pale, sweat-soaked face. Before I could react, he pushed me inside and collapsed onto the floor, wheezing, "Get the shirt, the shirt." I ran to rummage around. When I came back, I saw the blood. A long streak soaked into the white shirt my father wore. The left sleeve was torn wide open beneath the rip. Dark red, thick blood seeped out in pulses. I panicked. "Dad, what happened? Who did this to you?" He didn't answer, just stared at me. His eyes no longer those of the father I once knew. They were filled with fear and pleading. He pulled me close and whispered hoarsely, "Don't tell anyone, not a word. Understand?" I nodded. But inside, I was trembling, not from the blood, but because for the first time, I saw my father, the man who was once my pillar, terrified, like a child lost in a marketplace. I hurriedly washed the shirt, then buried the blood-stained torn piece behind the abandoned chicken coop. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat guarding him as if watching over a roaming nightmare. My mind raced with questions. Had he been in a fight? Was he involved in theft? Or worse, murder? I was only 13, but that night I aged 10 years. Few days later, while he lay bedridden, I found a cloth bag hidden under the bed frame. When I opened it, my heart tightened. Inside was a lot of money, and a blood-stained knife. I didn't know what to do. I just stood there, trembling like a leaf, clutching the bag as if afraid someone would see. But what scared me most was the knocking again. This time, it wasn't my father. It was a stranger's voice, hoarse. "I'm looking for Mr. T. You are father of this boy, right?" I froze as if paralyzed. The door hadn't opened yet, but my heart was about to burst from my chest. My hand gripped the cloth bag tightly, sweat pouring down like I'd been drenched. I could hear my own breath. Broken, erratic, like a misplaced drum beat in a funeral procession. "I'm looking for Mr. T. The father of this boy, right?" The stranger's voice wasn't loud, but there was something chilling about it. It wasn't like the police. I had heard them shout loudly and arrogantly when coming to catch gamblers in the neighborhood. Nor was it like gangsters. Missing that usual rough arrogance, his tone was even. But the cold killing intent was ice cold. I remained silent. "I know he's in there. Tell him to come out. I'm not here to hurt the boy." I glanced back at my father. He still lay motionless, eyes shut tight, face pale as death. For a moment I saw him as small, no longer the roaring angry man, no longer the one who could smash a table over a missing piece of meat at dinner. He was just a ragged, weary man hiding from the truth in the dark. I took a deep breath and stepped outside. The man stood there, tall and thin, wearing a worn dark shirt. His face was weathered, his eyes dull but sharp. Behind him was an old dream, motorbike parked under a tamarind tree. He looked at me for a long moment, then bent down and handed me a small package wrapped in newspaper. "For your father. Is he still alive?" I didn't answer, just nodded. He looked straight into my eyes hoarsely. "Keep your mouth shut, understand? When the time comes, he can speak. He'll know what to do." I nodded again, my heart pounding like it wanted to, tear through my chest. He turned away. Before climbing onto his bike, he stopped without looking back. "Remember, nothing you see is the truth. Sometimes it's a trap. For you, son." The engine roared, the chain clanked. Then he disappeared, into the dark alley. I stood there, still holding the paper package. When I went inside and opened it, I found a roll of gauze, a few small medicine bottles, and a crumpled note with a single line written, "Everything has its price." I sank down, feeling like my feet no longer touched the ground. From that night I understood. My childhood was over. No more laughter, no more carefreeness, only unanswered questions and the feeling of being thrown into a game I never chose. In the following days, my father slowly recovered. No one asked questions, no one dared speak. My mother avoided him, and I learned to live with fear, fear of the knocking, fear of the cold steel gaze, fear of my own father. Then, one day, while cleaning under the bed, I found an old wooden box carefully hidden beneath piles of worn clothes. Inside was a faded old photo of my father with a strange man, the one who had come that night, arms slung around each other, laughing like close brothers. On the back of the photo, a scrawled note in purple ink read, "Brothers till death, 1989. Held the photo, hands trembling violently. A chill ran down my spine. Could it be that all of this from the start was planned? And if that's true, then who am I in this story?